Hey, it's KHANTEHNT!
KHANTEHNT!
And we're talking about Talentless Nana, episodes 7 through 12. But before we start...
13.
13?
There's 13. Lucky number.
Well, before we do that, you should go to our Subscribe Star and give us $10 a month to get access to our bonus episodes, which we have like 5 of, and you can watch all of them as soon as you sign up.
We're back, baby. We finished Talentless Nana, and it was good. It was good. I wouldn't say it was like amazing, because I kind of saw where it was going, I think, from a while here. This was kind of the Michiru arc. Nana like getting more emotionally vulnerable as she continues her quest, which I did enjoy very much. But
this was not the show I was expecting to be crying watching, getting all emotional, but it got all emotional. I thought it was just going to be about people murdering each other, but it's more than that. There's heart.
There is heart. I guess, just to get to the main hook here, it's that Nana kind of makes a decision that not every single talented seems to be worth genociding, even having been told by the mysterious forces that they have like a kill count of like 150,000 is what they say with Michiru. She is like, I just no longer believe that this is true.
It's a long process of her developing some kind of trust or idea that this person is okay, and I thought it was really fun to watch as like she is suspicious of the fact that this girl is like asking questions about her and trying to get to know her better, and she assumes it's like, oh, maybe she's an enemy, maybe she's like working against me.
And to the show's credit, every person so far she's encountered has done exactly that thing.
And it gets played into when she seems to attack her, but it turns out it's a shape-shifting guy who can, we'll have to go into,
him
in depth as well, but yeah, like the main thrust of the arc here is about Nana like kind of diving into what kind of person she would have to be, this cutthroat and like duty driven, and like she's always like up all night, she's always like overexerting herself, and even though like the real reason she's doing all that is like, that she's trying to murder all these fucking kids, like they nonetheless can still, well, Michiru at least, like sees those traits in her, and while she's attributing it to her being like this great leader who's, going so far for the classmates and everything, like, regardless of why she's doing it, she is that person who Michiru like recognizes her as, and so like in breaking down what kind of person would act this way, we get to realize that she like blames herself for the death of her parents, that she's basically like a child soldier who's been trained by somebody who basically made her believe that she was responsible for her parents' death by being like, well, even though like anybody would tell her like the fact that she like left the window open, this is this is how she got her parents killed, is she left the window open by accident and a murderer got in that night, I guess. This makes no sense on any level. It's obviously like their parents were killed by somebody on purpose. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she did have a talent, that she doesn't even know about. But like, she's been told that like, oh, well, you fucked up, and like any fuck up is like going to lead to death, and that's why she's such a hard ass, is like from believing that. But at the same time, when she meets somebody who like is actually just willing to be nice to her on a level that, like, we just talked about Chainsaw Man, where Reese is like, you should run away with me and we'll go start another life together. And I was like, does she have like a way to do that? This girl actually says to Nana, like, come stay with my family. Like, we'll take care of you. We will give you a whole life. And Nana's like, doesn't even consider this as an option. She's just like offended that she would even suggest such a thing. Like, I just told you my parents died like yesterday, like, but she hasn't like decompressed her own emotions yet. In the end, maybe she would have gone off and hung out with Michiru, but it is not to be.
It's not to be. It's not to be. Yeah, that whole arc I enjoy very much because it's totally believable. The fact that all these episodes kind of lead to this point. I mean, since Michiru was first introduced, Nana's been suspicious of her and hasn't trusted her. And the fact that we get the step-by-step progression of Nana actually being convinced that there are decent people out there. Her mission is to exterminate all talented, because they're all a threat to humanity. This is what she's been informed of, in the same way she was informed that she was responsible for her parents' death. And I mean, we later find out that is well, it's not like anyone attempted to like make her think that, but the way that the facts pan out as Michiru herself unpacks it. So Michiru herself has a brain, at least, isn't just a dumb, vacuous, everything's nice all the time person. Like logically, she shows that no, your parents probably locked the window on their own because your room was clean and you kept your room dirty, so they must have come in and cleaned it up after you. It's showing Nana that there's value to people beyond just if you're talented, you're an enemy of humanity, you must be killed. So, and that initial fracture is what's getting Nana to reconsider all her preconceptions and this entire plot of the entire story.
Well, and just like the fact that she's clearly never looked at it from another perspective at all.
Yeah.
Because she's never told anybody about it. Like, she doesn't have any friends. She doesn't have any people that she, other than the guy who's been telling her it's your fault and go kill people, you know?
And the examination of Nana's psyche, as we see in here, I love. We get little moments where, you know, because she's been doing this dance, like she's the Kira to Kyoya's L, and she's trying to, I love that she is even red in her inner thoughts, and he is blue. This is literally what Kira and L did in their show. I love that she is constantly criticizing herself for like small mistakes such as, oh no, the way I answered that question is technically acceptable, but was presented in a slightly like my tone of my voice made me sound unbelievable. And she's way harsh on herself for even a tiny mix up like that. So we feel how it's been beaten into her. And probably my favorite little moment of this entire story is we cut back to like the Illuminati guys or whatever who are running this whole thing, and they are talking to the captain guy who trained Nana for this mission. So this is a man who trains child soldiers. And he gives her a phone call, like at the last episode, and when she just hears his voice over the telephone, she snaps to attention, holds up her phone, and like salutes while he isn't there, which is so informative as to what their relationship must have been like. There is no way he could see her, but instinctively she knows, if I don't do this, I will like be punished, be brutalized, like I don't know what will be done to me. That is such a great way to characterize that guy before he's had like one moment of on-screen presence. I love that. And if the story continues, it feels like he obviously will be like a major character going forward. He says he's coming to the island, so.
He seems like he might be big villain material. Like,
for sure, yeah.
I mean, so I think we're going to enter a phase after this, and it's interesting, this...
the anime's done, but there's more manga, yeah.
It ends in a great place. Like, I don't know if they had to move anything around to conclude this arc exactly the way they did, but like it's paced well, it feels right, it's, but it leaves us in a position where Nana could go any different way based on Michiru's death. You know, like, is she gonna be like, double down, I hate Talented, or is she gonna be like, well, she was proof that this is all fucked and now I need to switch sides, team up with Kyoya, or we also have, what is the name of shapeshifter
His name is
guy?
Gene. His name is Gene. I forget his last name.
This guy's an interesting character. So he's almost like Deus Ex Machina powerful, because this guy can shapeshift and use the powers of the people he shapeshifts into. He has to practice with their powers just like they do, but he can use anybody's power. And he's basically an animorph. Like, he spends a lot of his time living as an animal and just eating animal food and, well, you know, eating other
So he can do
animals.
reconnaissance.
Right.
He doesn't do that for fun. At least I don't think so.
But that, well, he's just been living on this island for like 5 years, and he occasionally like eats coffee or whatever to eat people food sometimes. He'll steal coffee from the cafeteria. Like.
That's true. So I guess that actually does imply he eats animal food most of the time.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, his backstory is great and makes a lot of sense. It's a little weird why he's on this island of all places, but it does explain it. So this guy, at least several years ago, he was a student just like everybody else on the island. So he was a talented too. And there was just a war that broke out on their island in a previous class, and everybody died except him. And we get a little misdirect of like, oh, you know, the two factions killed each other, and you know, they just abandoned us. I know something's going on. There was obviously an agent that was like Nana was there at the time. It wasn't Gene, it's somebody else, and that person seems dead as well. But actually, this guy seems like he killed everyone, or at least is implied to be by far the strongest. So he
I
survived
think
when
he
everyone else
says
died.
that he is a murderer and that he has killed several people.
Not only that, he refers to himself as subhuman multiple times because he is totally with Nana on talented are monsters, including me, and I'm a fucked up freak. And but he's got bigger ambitions. He knows that there is a conspiracy going on because the events on the island are so nonsensical.
Well, he seems to imply that the device that Nana's using is something that one of the people from the war had, like one of the bosses or something of one of the two factions
Nana
had.
agent of whatever war he was in, it seems. Yeah.
Okay, so it was another agent, but like, yeah, he implies that like whoever it is, I'm thinking that probably that agent fostered that war as their way of killing everybody.
Well, see, that's a great question. He informs us that like he's the vehicle through which we learn because he himself is pretty crazy and a self-avowed murdering monster. He's like, no, Nana, what you need to understand is, and I guess this is done for a little bit of narrative convenience. They're like, no, Nana, you're correct. The talented are all freakish monsters that like. Most of them should be put down immediately because they are a major threat, which like includes me. I deserve to die. This whole world is fucked up. That it's inevitable that like the fighting will break out because they just can't be trusted with these powers. And like it makes a lot of sense to get rid of them. So he's kind of on Nana's side when it comes to murdering these people because he knows that like in his group, a war just broke out because these clashing personalities were too strong. And imagine like a high school where everyone has a bazooka. That's not going to go well, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, he's kind of just like around, and there's these callbacks to like, there was a cat that she had rescued earlier in the show. That cat secretly is him.
All along.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. And there's like a bird that was in the background of a shot once that was him secretly. So like, you've got this looming idea that he is always cognizant of what's going on. He is just, anytime that something would not be going in the direction of his self-interest, he can step in and change that. It's just a matter of like, who is he trying to help and why? And ultimately, he's trying to help Nana, I think, but mostly just to get to her conspirator. But like,
well, he wants to uncover the truth. Oh, I was saying this before. So he won the war basically on the island. He was the sole survivor. He went back home to Japan or whatever, like found his grandma. And, the grandma had been told that he died, like, fighting the fake, non-existent aliens or whatever. But then the government agents rushed in to capture him. And he's like, oh, fuck, gotta get out of here. And then, of all places, he chose to go back to the island, presumably because he thought there would be answers there. That's my guess, anyway.
So he's just out for answers, and he is considering Nana, like, he's basically insisting to her, like, you are my slave. Like, I have been letting you do whatever you want, but if I ever didn't want to let you do whatever you want, I would step in and stop you. So
he really fucks her up a few times, too. He burns the shit out of her with the Fire Guy's power and stuff. So he obviously could, at any moment, take her down.
And that's an interesting thing. I guess there's not much more to say about him because he doesn't really do much yet.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kyoya, who's always just a blast to watch doing his detective thing. There was when I started watching this again, like starting up episode 6 or 7.
7, yeah.
Starting up episode 7, I was kind of like, I don't really remember this show that well. I don't remember what this conflict is these characters in with the necromancer girl. We haven't even talked about that yet.
We'll get to it, I guess.
Episode 7 was about necromancer girl that we were talking about before. Like, the intrigue of her arc was kind of over already, like finding out that she was this crazy stalker. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they don't reveal that she was... The reveal is she was actually stalking this boy. She wasn't actually his girlfriend, which I think, I don't know, just seemed like the case anyways because of her attitude.
No, that was a big reveal too. And it's another one in the series of everyone that Nana kills. Well, that's actually not true. Not everyone, but most people that Nana has killed turns out to be a bad person. I don't know about deserving of being murdered explicitly. Like, what about that guy who could predict the future? Like, he was just a creep. He wasn't, like, that monstrous. So I'm a little confused about, like, the moral implications. Right. Like, Nana killed main character guy.
So,
that was
like,
bad.
After murdering Necromancer, she wants to get the bodies burned of them, and then she also murders Gyaru Girl so that she can...
poison girl, yeah.
Yeah, the poisonous Gyaru, she murders so that she can have her body be burned amid all the other zombie corpses that had been animated by Necromancer Girl. But, like, the sort of, moral justification is that this girl is a hoe. Like, she's talking about how much
no
dick
justification whatsoever.
But it was such a, like, horror
if
movie
loving
scene
dick is a
like,
crime, then lock me up, officer. Take me away.
But yeah, like, she like, just gets killed instantly. And like, there's a scene of Nana being like, yeah, I was fucking boinking a guy all night too. We should be best friends. And she's like, oh, you have sex? Cool. I'll give you my phone number, dead.
I don't even know why Nana felt the need to say, I guess to lower her guard a little bit so she can.
And they bonded over it, I
guess
guess.
so.
Yeah. It was so that we could have a shot of Nana saying I was boinking a guy.
So people can take that out of context and post it on.
Was that what your subtitle said, boinking, by the way?
I think it did say boinking, yeah.
The chosen word.
Thanks, horrible subs, or whatever it was. So, I mean, she's killed as part of a larger plot because she's the this is all Nana's plan to distract people from the fact that there's a lot of murders happening now. I need to make justifiable or plausible deniability that I'm not the one doing it, because I'm glad they addressed this. After the zombie girl is killed, of course characters are going to start to question. This show's a little silly, but it does take things like that seriously. So many people are missing or dying on this island. Of course the people have to say something. And so Nana concocts this elaborate scheme to kill one person who's a poison user and have another person die via poison, and they both die when she isn't there through this convoluted thing. And it all generally makes sense, and it does successfully make it seem like Nana isn't responsible for every murder, at least.
But it's only really convincing to everybody but Kyoya, he's sort of in the position of like, I absolutely know you're doing this, I just don't know how or like why. So
yeah.
She's always like just barely ahead of him because he solves like every single thing that is happening. He figures out. He just doesn't figure out how she's doing.
The main piece he's missing is the motive question, which incidentally is the same thing that Jean is trying to figure out. They don't know for sure that there is this giant conspiracy to kill all the talented on the island. If he knew that piece, I think the rest would all become clear.
Yeah, she kills these two girls through this convoluted scheme.
The whole melting finger thing. The plot hinges at this point on the fact that a phone needs to stay on. First of all, I think it would go black after a little while. Let's assume it doesn't. And a finger will melt over several hours and push the send button. And Nana does say...
I'm not sure how that works. Like, the finger... wasn't the finger already on the button and just melting further?
I think it was implied it was hovering above.
Okay, I guess that's fine.
See, this actually isn't bad, and I don't even mind this. Nana says, because this is a complicated plot designed to make it look like she isn't doing anything. I had an A plot, which was not a great one, a B plot, which was better but still had some vulnerabilities, and a C plot, which was the most possible variables, but if it worked out, it would help me the most in my credibility. And they go with that. Now see, the fact that they acknowledge that there are lots of things that could have gone wrong, like, it's a little hard to believe, I guess, but just the fact that they address it and they say it was a gamble, like, it makes me feel a lot better about it.
I like that they do the whole, she goes through multiple plans, she has, like, there are little failures and hiccups that she'll identify along the way and, like, try to deal with. All that stuff is fun because it makes it, aside from the fact that it makes it more believable, it also, like, distracts you from asking other questions. Because if she asks, like, you could ask an infinite number of questions of how could this be done, but if she already posits to you two scenarios and one sounds better, you're not going to think of another scenario. You know?
I had one question. Here's an example. Most of the questions I asked were answered, and I was really satisfied with that. There's only one that wasn't. There's part of the plan is to get the fire guy to burn these bodies because it seems like the right thing to do. Okay, that's obviously a retarded idea, and you should, like, talk to the authorities, and this doesn't make sense to just indiscriminately start burning corpses. Like, someone should check them. Okay, but that's not even my issue. It's that there is a moment here, right before the bodies are burned, where Nana's thinking to herself, like, I sure hope that Kyoya doesn't search the bodies. And she even suggests that to Kyoya, and Kyoya responds with, like, oh, it's like you're trying to get me to search the bodies, so I won't. And then they burn and they all go away. I think they're trying to do a thing that he doesn't search the bodies because Nana said he should search them, and it could be a trap. I don't buy that shit.
I more got the impression that the suggestion is that, like, there was no need to search the bodies, but she was, like, expecting him to do it, so she's, like, amped up for him to do it because it'll double down that there's nothing there. You know, like that.
That is no excuse. But what if there is something there and it fucking both opens as there was in this case?
Maybe he just was confident there wouldn't be. I have no idea.
See, okay.
Didn't make much sense.
That is the only moment that I was like, wait, what? I don't understand why they did this. Other than that, it was pretty airtight. Although the...
my assumption was that, like, maybe it's just because, like, would it have changed anything for him to have known that one of the corpses was the girl? Like,
the poison girl, yeah, because the X factor here is the poison girl's body was there and was fresh, and because I know she put it in like a boy's uniform so he wouldn't suspect, but like it just feels like he should at least look at the bodies they're destroying a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel like
it was an odd moment.
That's the one thing. Other than that, though, logic was good. And I don't know, getting to the end plot here. So there's another running thing here of Michiru here is a healing person, but every time she heals, it shortens her lifespan. Right. And at one point, we get a cat that was hurt that Jean brings in to Michiru to save. And in doing so, Michiru like gets all fucked up and is like gonna die, it seems like. So we're setting up Michiru's vulnerability using her power. And it's this like weakness, now that Nana's gotten closer to her, that makes her like easy to break, and Nana starts talking about her backstory. She tells not only Michiru, but also Jean, who's there in cat form, which seems like a bad idea. He could use that against you at some point. But whatever. All setting up for the big finale, where in a final, like big mystery, where a dude had his fucking throat slashed and was stabbed from behind, and there were a bunch of people who theoretically might have heard this happen.
Everybody suspects the girlfriend because she happens to have wind slash powers.
Right, makes sense.
But no, it's just some crazy guy. Which, like, there's a part where someone tells Nana, like, you know, like, if you keep killing people, like, the crazies are going to come out.
This is Jean. This is reinforcing Jean's argument that these people are psychos. They just need a chance to bring it out.
So, like, when he said that, I'm more expecting, like, the traditional someone freaks out and they're like, oh, someone must be killing us on the island. We got to, like, start suspecting each other. But no, it's just, like, a crazy guy just, like, activates, I guess. He's like, time for me to start doing my psycho murder thing, and starts killing bunny rabbits and shit.
He just loves to kill things.
He likes to make beautiful things die, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's always attacking like rabbits, and I have to assume he killed the other guy because like everybody liked him so much. Because there's like a part where a dude's like just talking about how he's like, oh, you know, his speeches were like boring, but he was just such a good guy, just such an amazing person, you know?
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
I guess that's why he got his throat slit, because that's why he's going after Michiru here as well.
And by the way, I can't help but notice that it sure is convenient that after a little mini arc where Nana is elaborately concocting a plan to make it look like she isn't killing someone, the next thing that happens is someone else actually is killing someone. That is very helpful for Nana's credibility as not the killer on the island. But hey, what can you do? It's not
island full of crazies, supposedly. So.
And see, this is kind of the point I want to get to about that. What am I supposed to think about the talented? Do they need to be purged, or can some be allowed to live?
Well, okay, the real thing is, think of it this way, right? Like, anybody can go crazy if you put them in a pressure cooker environment. We've seen this with reality TV shows, you know? They deliberately go out of their way to agitate people, make them more likely to fuck up and do bad stuff. If those people had superpowers, it'd be that much worse, which is essentially the argument. Shinsekai Yori, even though it's a garbage show, the interesting thing about it is that it was set in a far future sci-fi world where, like, there's these psychic kids who, like, at one point, similar to this show, annihilated most of the world just because they were so powerful. So they have them in these, like, these villages and schools that are all about suppressing emotion as much as possible. Just like eliminating emotion from the human experience so that those kids won't just destroy the world as
Makes
soon
a
as
lot of sense.
get heinous. And you could say that the reason that the crazies are activating is not that like these people latently were always going to go crazy, it's that you put them in an environment that would drive people crazy, just like any other, you know, survival.
Does their environment seem that bad though? I mean, they're just going
well,
to
there's
school.
people dying everywhere. I mean, if that like triggered you, you know, to be like, oh, this world's like things are fucked. Like we learn that like the doctor and all the teachers but one have basically left the island because of the murders. So like
yeah, right.
They're all
abandoning.
They've
shit.
all afraid, I guess. They don't.
They're
gonna
let the
going
rats
on.
eat each other on the island, and maybe one will survive. I guess it's fair to say, I mean, kind of like as general morality goes, if you've got a guy with a gun, that man isn't necessarily a criminal until he shoots someone. Maybe he's a security officer, maybe he's a police officer. I mean, you know, power doesn't inherently make you a bad person, but if you misuse, and the more power you have, the more easy it is to allow yourself to misuse it. So just like with any other kind of power, you just got to take it on a case-by-case basis, I guess.
Comes great responsibility.
That I guess that's pretty much the message here, which makes sense.
But yeah, so you got this whole arc with Michiru and Nana. They become friends. She reads her diary, expecting it to be like full of suspicions about her, but it's literally just like, Nana's the best. She's so cool. I want to be like her one day. And so in the end, she like the way that they portray like her a growing attachment to Michiru is like adorable and really well done. That she's like starts off like super suspicious, and then she's like tsundere about it, where she's like, I had to fucking sit at your bed all night, you bitch. You made me waste a day, you know? And then she's like, when Michiru wakes up, like she's intending to just be like, she's oh, you're finally awake. And then Michiru says like, oh, let me heal that cut on your finger. And she like freaks out and she's like, no, fuck you. This is a bad use of your power. You just passed out. Take care of yourself at least first, you know? Like, and it's like, I just thought it was interesting that she keeps like reacting aggressively to Michiru after now that she's like trying to resist the fact that she's actually becoming friends with her. It's like, okay, before she was always just nice all the time as a matter of course because that's her personality. Now that she actually cares about someone, she's mean to her because she doesn't want her to care about her. She's like, get away from me. But Michiru sees through this as well, and it's just kind of able to like totally diffuse her. There's a part where she says like, your hair's all fucked up. And Michiru's like, your hair's fucked up too. And they're just like, it is. And they become friends and have a pal around. So like, I just think this is a very good portrayal of the way that like people who are like super down on themselves because of having been like abused this way, where they've just been told that they're bad and told that like everything's wrong. Like the way to help those people is that kind of like unflinching, like, no, you are okay. It's not your fault. Like, you being an asshole to me does not change this fact, you know, like that it will always be true that it's not your fault. And so like the fact that Michiru can, you know, give that to Nana is what makes her actually like, oh my God, you're actually a good person. Like I actually can't bring myself to think that there's any reason that you should die. And I also really love that she kind of maybe catches on to this at the end, but Jean literally describes the numbers as like absolutely random. Like there's no logic by which they could say, oh, this is the potential kill count.
Michiru being the best
means
example.
Nothing.
How could a healer kill 150,000 people? What is that? I was asking that last time. How?
Right.
How?
It's
by healing other killers? I don't know.
It's pure grift. It's just the means, the logic they gave to Nana so she would go kill people.
I love how Nana continually pulls out her phone, looks at that number, 150,000, and is just like, fucking how? How? And at the end, she's like, I don't believe it anymore. So I found the slow, steady build of like, of friendship between the two very believable, as you were saying. Very slow. I really was important to me to see Nana's constant resistance to forming a genuine bond. If it had been too easy, I would have called bullshit and been pissed about it. She is a child soldier.
Right.
But it feels believable because this is breaking the fundamental belief she has about like all talented being monsters. And even beyond that, there's another element that's like could be unbelievable a little bit about like Michiru's such an angel. Oh, she's so good. But they actually go into her backstory as to why she's like this. Yeah. And we have her like cancer patient friend Hitomi who like inspired her to be a better person too. So like there's even a reason why Michiru is such a good person, and that was also a great element that I was delighted to see.
I also really liked the idea that like, so the other girl who was her friend, the cancer patient, like she's introduced as like a, not a bully, but like a Yankee type, like delinquent. Yeah. She's like skips school. She, well, they think she skips school, but she's like a hard ass who will beat people up on Michiru's behalf. Really, she's just a super nice girl who's out of school because she's got cancer.
She's got chemo that day. Can't come to school.
Rumors spread about her for probably baselessly, but like it's the fact that she sees Michiru as super nice and like doing nice things for people.
You know, by the way,
like,
I do
I'm
love
gonna team up with you.
Rumors are spread about Michiru because she fucking licks boys' legs to heal them. I'm just saying that makes sense. That's all I'm saying.
That's a much more sensible rumor, yeah. But I liked the idea that like she had already bonded with someone who was like an outcast, and Nana is that same kind of outcast in a way, and both of them are like, you know, in these circumstances beyond their control that have put them in like, you know, probably gonna die young type scenarios.
Yeah.
Michiru's the one who dies young though.
So in the final confrontation, Nana heroically basically abandoning her mission, saying, fuck this, my mission is not worth it. Michiru is a good person, I no longer believe. At least in Michiru's case. She just like ignores her master's teaching to like go home. She goes and does it, and she confronts like Astral Projection Man as he's trying to kill Michiru, and basically manages to save her because Kyoya is attacking like the host body of the Astral Projection guy. So like they get that guy, but she gets stabbed like 4 times in horrific detail. And
she is dying. She's like, it's so cold, I am dying.
But Michiru, you know, we know she's vulnerable. She does a big heal.
And it's like, you knew this was going to happen. There's at some point at which it became obvious, like episodes beforehand, where it's like, she's probably going to sacrifice herself to heal her at some point. But they did a good job of like the number of fake outs towards like the fact that we already had the fake out of her being portrayed by the shapeshifter. So like we already had like, ooh, what if she was evil? That's been dissuaded. So like now the next step is, okay, well, she's definitely gonna die. But they do a good job of making it take just long enough that when it finally happens, you're like, ah, fuck, of course this is where it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Big sad. And yeah, it's just well done shit.
There was for the record, there was this idea that Michiru was trying to get so good at healing that she could raise the dead. And like that was an element that like, oh my god, like we've covered all these other powers like time stopping and teleporting and blah blah blah, but like raising the dead would be a real obstacle for Nana. So who knows if Michiru even could have achieved that?
Gene can copy that power. He can train himself well enough to do it.
I mean, that was always theoretical anyway. Who knows if it's even possible, but she was always a potential threat to Nana. Yeah. But I mean, the real question is now, is Nana going to stick with her mission like at all, having had this happen? Like the master is on his way. I think
she's going to want answers. She's going to be like, this is the thing. It's time to start asking questions.
I totally agree. I think that we've now shifted through the vehicle of Michiru, and I guess Jean as well, into who's the real villain here. Yes, there are absolutely monstrous, talented who need to be quarantined or maybe killed if they're like bad enough people or whatever. That guy's a murdering psychopath. He could probably go to the gas chamber. But actually, we don't know if he killed any humans yet. Oh, wait, yes, he did. He killed the fat guy, the friendly guy. Okay, so that guy off to the gulag. But Michiru was a good person, you know? Main character Deku from episode 1, was he a monster? Was he definitely going to become a monster? Is it worth the risk? I don't feel like it's my role to play God and decide you can't be trusted with your power, so I'm going to kill you as a child. That is, you know, there's some moral questions to be asked about that. So I feel like we're shifting into real villain here is the overly controlling state or whatever that feels it has the right to choose who lives and who dies and all that crazy shit. Because they're going a little bit over the top, killing someone like Michiru.
And Fancy Boot Man, probably final boss.
Oh, yeah, right,
well,
right.
This show was really fucking fun to watch.
Yeah.
I would love to see more. I don't know if there'll be another anime. I doubt it, just based on the fact it doesn't seem super successful. But
yeah.
I guess we'll find out. But it is like a Shonen Jump manga, right? Isn't it?
No, it's not in Shonen Jump.
No,
it's in something else.
Okay, well, it probably won't. But like, I would read this manga because it was good.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
I'm invested in this character, want to know what's going to happen with her and the fucking island and Kyoya. And I was also interested in the fact that the way that the relationship between them is portrayed, there's a lot of these like kind of Yuri hints where people are like teasing her about like, oh, you're acting like you're somebody you like and things like that. I don't think that it was necessarily meant to imply that they were like in love with each other so much as just like...
There was bait for the fans, no doubt about it,
surely,
if they want to see it. Yeah.
But it came off to me more like just that Nana, like, not having had any connections at all whatsoever, like, you know, to her, this is like as intense as like a romantic connection would be for somebody because of the fact that like she doesn't have any friends. It's just like this is the most important person in the world now. All of a sudden, you know, where she's literally walking around like I can't stop thinking about her. As soon as she's in trouble, she like runs to her rescue. But now she's dead, so Kyoya can now be the new love interest, and that's where I'm expecting this to eventually go.
Gotta lay that invincible dick down.
Yes. Well, she's got to be dicked into personhood, basically.
The healing power of the cock.
Yeah, but that's where I'm thinking this is going to go. She's going to team up with them, and they're going to fight the bad guy.
I think that's probably true. And the main question about that is Nana redeemable considering episode 1 main character guy?
That's such an interesting question for a main character of a shonen manga to have asked about. Like, yeah,
that's true.
Like with Light Yagami, you knew he wasn't redeemable from the start.
No.
You knew he didn't have interest in being redeemable. This character has like just murdered 4 or 5 people and then been told emphatically, "It's not your fault, man. We get it. I understand." You know,
this is fascinating because the writer has gone way out of his way to make a bunch of the people murdered seem like bad people, but not that bad of people. Right. So you know, like. That guy was like a little bit of a creep. Maybe he would have killed Nana if he had the chance, but only in self-defense. What about that? What about the time reversal guy who never did anything bad to anybody and just got like teleported into the ground? And this is what I fear. I fear that every character who wasn't at least a little bit set up to be bad is alive somewhere, and they will all come back so that Nana can be redeemed.
That's been my suspicion from the start, but
oh boy,
we'll find out.
Read the manga, I guess, and find out. I want to know.
I would give this like a strong 7 to a light 8. It was highly enjoyable. Didn't expect to get emotional. It kind of had like a, I wouldn't say it had like a satisfying ending in the sense that the story's over, obviously. But like, I don't expect that from an anime adaptation of a manga. This had a satisfying ending for what it is.
What if it had ended with like anime original ending where Nana gets to the death and then the second half just goes school shooters like the government HQ and takes out all those motherfuckers? I would have found that satisfying.
Could have happened.
I'd give it like a solid 7 because I gotta say the animation did not blow me away in the show very much.
Fair.
As like an anime, you know, didn't take massive use of the medium to really impress me, but like a 7 I feel is good. It was a good show. I did enjoy watching it, and I would recommend it to anybody who wants like a little more light take on Death Note with more like emotional, I don't know, recovery of a main character. It's like rehabilitating a school shooter is like the narrative of Nana, and I enjoy that. I want all school shooters to be rehabilitated, potentially. All right, anybody, thanks for watching. On that note, thanks for watching. Give us some money at subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT. $10 gives you all the bonus episodes, and it's a good time. You should go to Twitter and follow us there. Also, join our Discord down below. Talk about Nana, Attack on Titan, Slimy Sakai coming out, of the future shows we're going to get to. Oh my god, so much exciting things happening on KHANTEHNT. You'll be there. And also send us KHANTEHNT clips where you say shit like that in fun places. Man, we've had fun stuff. There was a guy skiing. There was a guy on top of a big hill.
Big hill.
You could be on top of a big hill and say KHANTEHNT, like the heroes who've come before you. Either way, get involved, people. Lots of fun things going on here. But most importantly, give us money on Subscribestar. All right, we'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye.